They also didn't know how to end. Like, there was no clear end to the Village People. It was just like, they just kind of kept going.
I just love that we have a Village People critique. I just don't know what's happening.
And I'll suck you up and I'll spit you out and I'll play with your babies till you scream and shout. Oh yeah, till you scream and shout.
Welcome to Burn It All Down, the feminist sports podcast that you need. I'm Shireen Ahmed, sports journalist based in Toronto, and I am joined by Dr. Jessica Luther.
Hi, I'm author, podcaster, living in Austin. I also bake some cookies.
Dr. Amira Davis.
Hi, I am also author-esque, historian, professor, living in Austin, and I do not bake cookies.
Eats cookies.
Yeah, I love just, oh my God.
Lindsay Gibbs.
Hi, I'm the resident non-academic, and I live in Greensboro, North Carolina, and I have the Power Plays newsletter, which, stay tuned, big news on that front this week, and also in the women's sports lead at CBS Sports and the co-host of Slate's Hang Up and Listen sports podcast. But nothing is like Burn It All Down.
Dr. Brenda L.C.
Historian, Hudson Valley, New York. I don't like cookies, and I don't bake cookies.
I don't even understand that sentence, Brenda, but okay.
She works with FAIR. That's important.
Work with FAIR on
She's a
anti-discrimination.
professor at Hofstra, also feels like maybe you should know that.
Internet. Well, you just said professor and not
Oh,
your
I didn't say
university.
where?
So I was trying. Yeah,
No.
so I was just
You
trying.
guys
to
are
sorry.
terrible at this. This is
I was trying to
awful.
follow your
It's like-
lead. You know, cookies, historian.
Nobody is doing a good job introducing themselves.
Today on the show, after we get our names right, it's like Wayne Gretzky. Wayne Gretzky.
I know.
Today on the show, we will be talking about the Men's World Cup 2026 as co-hosted by Canada, the United States, and Mexico, with Maple the Moose, Zayu the Jaguar, and Clutch the Eagle as the mascots. We'll be getting into the tomfoolery, the political, the good, the bad, and what needs to be burned. Before we dive into this dumpster fire, let's get an update about Burn It All Down and where we are. We are guessing that you missed us as much as we missed you, and we wanted to bring it back. But this time around, we have to be really honest about how much labor goes into creating a very high quality show and how much money it costs to pay everyone to be involved. So to that end, our goal is to actually be back regularly starting June 2026 with the beginning of the Men's World Cup. And then for at least a year, we'll be coming to you at least once a month. And that's a minimum of 12 episodes. But, and this is a big but, we want to fundraise ahead of time to ensure that we'll have the funding for a full year. We can pay people what they need to be paid before we start making the episodes. And to that end, in February, we will be launching our Kickstarter. And if successful, we'll move to Patreon model that we once had before the show relaunches in June. And more details to come of that. We will need your help. We'll need your solidarity. We'll need your support to spread the news, to encourage people to invest in this project, to listen to our content, to let people know that we're actually back. So stay tuned for information about the Kickstarter. And in the meantime, if you want to know what you can do to help right now, because you are very, very excited, and we understand and respect that, you'll use the link in the show notes to sign up for our new newsletter. And that's where I'll provide more information about our upcoming fundraising. You'll fill out this fill out the survey that is linked to the show notes as well. And 3, go subscribe to our YouTube channel because Bayad is going to be available in video form.
Woo!
Yay!
So those are 3 things that you can do. And just wanted to say, to start off, I love you. I'm not going to cry right now. But I do want to ask all of you, why are we coming back now? Why for you is this important that we come back now? Brenda?
I'm just tired of screaming into a void alone. And I feel I really need to hear from some smart people really struggling on this timeline.
Can I just say, like, in my not humble opinion, no one has filled the hole since we went on hiatus. Like, there's so much stuff that deserves the smart kind of critique that Burn It All Down does, and no one else is doing it. And so I'm ready to hear you all be brilliant again in my ears.
Yeah, to loosely quote from H to the Izzo, we can't leave this alone. The game needs us. You're
Yeah, I would
welcome for that.
say I'm dying to hear what you all think about everything going on. And let me be selfish. And for all of us, like, there's a big boom happening in women's sports right now and in media, in women's sports, media about women's sports. We've never been solely about women's sports, but obviously that's a big part of what we do. And it feels a little bit like we stopped right before the boom happened. And I think that
Yes.
the boom needs us and we need the boom. A lot of creators are getting a lot of money and I don't understand why.
Someone had asked me recently what was my greatest professional accomplishment, and I've done some really cool shit, like all of y'all do really cool shit. But this one is the one that's closest to my heart. So I'm really, really grateful to be back. Burn it all down. I think we're unmatched and amazing. But what's not unmatched and amazing is the Men's World Cup and the absolute ridiculous circus that surrounds it, which is why we've gathered here today to speak of this highest order of tomfoolery. Now, Brenda, can you get us started off about not just why, because we have perpetually on this show, we started almost 8 years ago. Isn't that wild? Like 2017 is when we launched this show. But in that, we've spoken a lot about FIFA. But why is this such a pivotal time for us to re-engage and talk about this? And why is it such a mess?
I think this is what we're going to get into, right? This FIFA 2026 World Cup has taken mega event to a whole new level of hyper-capitalist spectacle and political buffoonery. The World Cup draw, which occurred December 5th, that's yesterday from when we're recording, was a cringe-worthy carnival at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., with the heads of state of the three host countries, Canada, Mexico, and the U.S. present. And the groups then were drawn for countries that have qualified. So just at a basic level, this tournament is bigger than it's ever been by a lot. It's expanded from 32 to 48 teams. Just as a reminder for people who aren't obsessed with it, it's going to take place from June 11th to July 19th. 16 host cities, 11 in the U.S., two in Canada, and 3 in Mexico. What this means is there's going to be 104 matches. So, yeah, it's sort of like the mega event, mega. And the buildup has really engendered one of the most nauseating bromances in sport history, as Johnny Infantino has lavished praise and gifts and prizes on the U.S. President Donald Trump, despite Trump's incendiary statements about foreign countries, including Mexico, and attacks on U.S. cities, terrorizing immigrant groups who have been at the heart of the soccer community in this country, at least in the U.S., for over a century. So I'm excited, to talk about this and parse it out with you all. I think we'll be taking stock of this shit show as we're 6 months out from kickoff.
I have a question about the bromance with Trump and Infantino. There's so much news in the U.S., so I feel like I miss a lot of stuff. Is this only happening with Trump, or is Infantino doing any of this kind of sucking up with Mexico and Canada? Have I just missed it?
No, he's absolutely not. Prime Minister Mark Carney is not on this particular bandwagon, although he was glowing at the draw and just sort of happy to be, almost felt he was happy to be invited to the party, if I can use that as an analogy. He absolutely doesn't. The United States and Canada are in a very tight and very tense tariff and trade war, not war, but they're in negotiations. There are immense tensions happening right now. So the fact that Trump actually played nice during the circus yesterday was really interesting to watch, because when he's in the limelight, he says and acts and behaves sort of for the cameras and panders to the audience. And that's what I felt he did, because behind closed doors, he speaks ill of Canada, wanted us to be the 51st state, which was incredibly angering and has ties to the Four Nations Cup of about a year ago, which was something I was really missing y'all at that time, because it was such an important point that I was like, who do I talk to about this? There's content about it, but not in the way that we do it. So anyways, it goes back. There's a history there. And absolutely not doing it with Mark Carney. This particular bromance and this relationship is very much about Trump and Infantino.
Yeah, I hadn't realized that at the World Cup draw, that was actually the first time that Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum and Donald Trump had met in person. That is the first time, yes. And, she's been very critical of this administration. And since the whole Gulf of America, which was his attempt to rename the Gulf of Mexico, which was from jump a neat thing he thought he would do, there's been a lot of tensions between them. So I was really surprised to see at the draw how friendly he sort of positioned himself. But then again, we'll get into it, but he was in his element with a tacky event like that.
Gross.
Is it? I'm big Infantino fan here, so me praising him is going to be shocking. No, look, obviously this bromance is nauseating, but it's also one of the smarter things I think Infantino is doing, because it's going to ensure, like, he knows as long as he keeps heaping this praise on Trump and putting him front and center, it's giving him, the world's best boss mug, right? It's just like, it's all, I do think Infantino knows how silly this all is. And I do think it's strategic, and I don't think it's dumb. I hate that it's happening. It makes me sick, but he needs Trump's cooperation, and he doesn't have to work with the egos of these other world leaders in the same way, because they're not toddlers. They're not, they don't need their constant supply of candy and distractions in order to not throw a tantrum, but Trump does. So look, I get it, I guess is what I'm saying.
And a little bit more about that. One of the things that I think is so grotesque is that saying that football unites the world, but pandering to a specific person who's managed to alienate so many communities from around the world is deeply ironic. Linz, I know that you wanted to talk a bit about this new award, this great award. Can you talk to us about this award, please?
Yeah, there's one thing which is like keeping Trump nice, and then there's what Infantino is doing, which is going, well, so far above and beyond what would be kind of required of appeasing an ego. And he is literally pumping hot air into the ego like in real time in a continuous basis. And the biggest example is this Peace Prize, the FIFA Peace Prize, Football Unites the World, which happened to be announced right after the Nobel Peace Prize winner was announced, and Trump had openly campaigned for that, and he was not granted that. And so Infantino decided to, he saw a way to gain favor. The New York Times says this award was so hastily arranged. This was like a month ago that this was put together, that it was so hastily arranged that it surprised several of FIFA's most senior officials, including board members, vice presidents, which is absolutely ridiculous. And so during the draw ceremony, which took place on Friday, December 5th at the Kennedy Center, which apparently they were granted access to for free by the Trump sycophants who now run the Kennedy Center, they did this whole dog and pony show awarding Trump a Peace Prize and spreading lies about how he is the peacetime president. I've been trying to figure out how to describe how absurd this is. And I'm just going to quote friend of the show, Nancy Armour's column in USA Today, because I think she did it for me. Infantino said, "This is in recognition of Trump's exceptional and extraordinary actions to promote peace and unity around the world." Now, back to Nancy's voice. Which actions are those specifically? The poor fishermen killings that are likely illegal and maybe even war crimes, the racist slurs directed at Somali people, the harassment and abuse of brown-skinned people in a bid to enforce this racially pure vision of America while promoting reverse migration, the elimination of life-saving aid to people in need. Shall I continue? Trump is the most divisive person on the planet, let alone the country he was elected to lead, and his actions and rhetoric have made the entire planet a colder, crueler, and unsafer place. He's a champion for peace in his own mind only, and no reputable group would ever honor him as such. Enter Infantino's FIFA. You know, it's ridiculous.
Can I also say that the trophy is really, really ugly? And it made me think that it was done by the same person who did the Ronaldo statue in Portugal. Like, it's that level of ugly. And that's like all I could think when I saw it. I was like, it's got to be the same artist.
Mira, when they were listing off all the things during the actual show of what he's done and naming everything from him saving, quote unquote, millions of lives, what are your thoughts?
I think I texted Bren when it was announced, and I don't think I like managed words because Lindsay's right. It's so absurd. Like I can't, like I hate this timeline. Like everything that has been said from the Kennedy Center hosting this to like everything makes me like so nauseated. Like I struggle even to talk about it because what the fuck is even happening? It's sad because it's so predictable, but it also like is inescapable in a way that I really hate. I think I got 4 push notifications yesterday announcing this award decontextualized as if it wasn't the fucking biggest, ugliest participation trophy for, you know, people who've been mown participation trophies and only really traffic in them, apparently, because like everybody knows it's absurd. And I think about what it means to have the world watching something that no sane person like believe it's not rational. And
No.
I think I'm having a hard time adjusting to a world. I mean, like we've been doing this now for like too many years, but I feel like it's still so important to try to grasp rationality when we can, even if it means calling out the obvious, which is like, obviously this is a sham. This is disgusting. This is like, why are we the pomp and circumstance? And yet when I get push notifications that are like, he's earned it, I'm like, and it just reminds me that those newsrooms have been hollowed out as well of journalists and are replaced with people who are happy to carry water for the business people who've bought out all of the news. And so everywhere I look in even this story reminds me that our institutions have failed us. They were never really designed to withstand the rise of fascism, and they're just like failing in real time over and over and over again.
I know we're going to talk a lot about other disturbing aspects of this, so I just want to wrap up really quick. And once again, I'm going to quote someone else because I don't really have the words. But Evan Whitfield, the chair of the Human Rights Soccer Alliance, in the USA Today column, it showed his statement, and it was Trump says that he has brought about peace in countries around the world, but at home and in our region, first of all, he has not brought about peace in countries around the world. Take that out of context and say at home in our region, he is waging war verbally and quite literally on sections of our people, including by unleashing a militarized force on immigrants. And Trump has threatened to bomb Mexico, a co-host of the World Cup, and to unjustifiably invade Venezuela, our near neighbors. And as Shireen mentioned at the top, to subsume Canada, another World Cup co-host, in other words, to invade them. So it's just like, even if you just look at his actions towards the co-host of this World Cup, you couldn't justifiably give him a peace prize.
Yes, that's all true. Can I just add though, I mean, part of this seemed very clear that Trump was upset he didn't win the Nobel Peace Prize, which people might think of as the real peace prize. And I've seen a lot of people say, oh, the Nobel Committee would never do this. But let's remember they gave it to Henry Kissinger, okay? And they gave it to Henry. So carrying water has been something that these institutions globally and nationally have done for fascists for a very long time. So, but I share everything that you just said. I'm just adding to root myself in the fact that this timeline's bad as part of this long timeline. And yeah, sometimes that makes me actually feel better.
Well, and Bren, who is the head of the FIFA Peace Prize Commission?
What a shady guy. The head was the Federation, the Football Association Federation president of Myanmar, Zhao Zhao, who is a businessman. He's worked for years, decades, very closely with the brutal military dictatorship there, and is under investigation for crimes against humanity and financial impropriety and crimes. He's crimes. Yeah.
And it's so ridiculous because I think one of the most annoying things of this like timeline is it has pushed us into defending things that we have always had critiques about. I mean, this is happening in like in higher education. We're defending shit that like we're just trying to keep something. And that's how I think I feel about the FIFA Peace Prize. It's like it's pushed us into defending the Nobel Peace Prize as legitimate, but like to
Yes.
Brenda's point, these prizes have always been a great understanding of like who's valued and who's not. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna like talk about Obama droning people, but like people have always made a value judgment with these prizes that have like legitimized ideas of peace or neutrality or whatever that have always turned like rendered others disposable. There's some people whose suffering and whose, you know, pain does not matter, is not legible, right, in terms of the world vision of what it means to bring peace. So absolutely they're all a sham, and I just hate that something that is like even like Shammy Pro, like Shammy Plus, like the FIFA Peace Prize, like looks so absurd that we're all like, hey, like the Nobel Peace Prize is the alternative. They're all terrible, but like they're finding new levels of terribleness astounding.
God, I missed y'all. Like, seriously. My favorite comment, and just to wrap up this particular part of the discussion, someone on Twitter was like, now we should get FIFA to announce the Nobel Prize for Physics. Because if that's what's happening, if FIFA's according a peace prize, like we should really, it was just, there's the commentary was quite funny. I just want to, speaking about the actual draw and the on this theater, one of the
Speaking about
largest,
funny.
theaters. Speaking of funny, I wanted to ask if there's any other particular moments that you wanted to touch on. And Brenda and I did record a highly chaotic, fun 20-minute show, a small show, quick show yesterday that you'll be able to find in our feeds of our commentary. But I wanted to add on top of that. You mentioned this off the top.
What joy. If it wasn't real life, what an entertaining time. Because what is happening?
There's so many things like that now, Amira.
Right.
If this wasn't real life, I'd be laughing.
I'm just like, what is happening? I don't know. My favorite thing, of course, was Lauryn Hill, mostly because the draw was so delayed that she was on time. And I greatly enjoyed everybody pointing out that is the one time she's late because fucking FIFA's even less on time than she is. But also, how awkward was that? Lauryn Hill came out with her sons, YG and Zion, and performed a medley of her hits to a audience that I can only describe as like, remember in COVID where they put those cardboard fans up at the games to replace the fans? That's how it felt. And it was more awkward when they're like, put your hands up if you're having a good time. Nobody's having a good time. What is happening? It was a delight in a twisted sort of way.
Well, that energy was so desperate from Infantino that it felt like a high school pep rally, like an anti-drug rally if you were a high schooler in the 80s, like say no to drugs. And he kept saying like, I want to hear from the U.S. fans only. The hackneyed conversations about soccer versus football. You couldn't write it as a parody as that
So
good,
bad.
like that well.
Remind me what somebody remind me what Shaq said, because I got a push notification that said he stole the show, and you guys told me yesterday. I was laughing about it, and I literally can't remember.
He said, I'm David Blackham. And I was sitting there, and I'm sitting with my husband, and we're like, what the fuck? Like,
But it was UM. It
Yeah.
wasn't even EM. It wasn't even
Blackham.
like Blackums, not like Blackham. Black M.
Oh.
That is the
And by the way,
funniest
Bex
thing.
wasn't there yesterday, which I thought was a conspicuous, that's not a word, conspicuous, was a
not.
noted, it's a noted absence,
It's
which I
both
thought was
conspicuous
fascinating.
and auspicious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
That is the funniest
Dr.
shit
Elsie.
because you just know he's like so proud of that.
It's I just had like it first of all, it was the audience, like you'd say they're these cardboard cutouts, which is perfect. But and I know it's all men, but this was 99% men in this audience. And they were all wearing, I think, the exact same suit.
Same outfit.
And
yeah.
it literally looked like that meme of the guys at the baseball game, the white guys, they're just they're like
The
fanning
fan.
out behind
Yeah.
one another. Like that's what it looked like. Like it looked like AI had just like put, all these men in seats. And, they interviewed Michelle King and I was like, oh my God, we found a woman, in
Yeah.
this audience.
Yeah.
Like you could probably count them on one hand.
Yeah.
got Carly Lloyd.
Yeah, Jess?
I honestly didn't watch a second of this, and I have enjoyed just hearing y'all's reactions to it. That has been good enough for me.
Yeah. Well, also we have to say the village people missed all their cues somehow. Like they had one job.
Every sentence you say is like, what?
You never know what's
watch
coming
this.
next.
I
You
know,
never-
I literally
you
said
can
I
tell-
would-
I went back and
It
watched
was a
certain parts.
surprise to the village people that they were supposed to be performing. The
I
music,
just
like
did
intro
not think
music,
that's what you were gonna
just kept
say.
going in. Like it played an acoustic version of the YMCA for like 3 minutes before they came on stage.
It's like literally, I went
just
back
feel
and
like y'all
watched.
are just making this
You-
up.
it's
and
like Mad
I'm
Libs,
just
right?
like believing you.
That's the thing. Like I was watching you guys text about it in the group chat in real time, and I went back and watched some bits of it. But it felt like so much like Mad Libs that 100% was prepared for you to be like, the Care Bears are now appearing with Katy Perry's Left Shark next to Rahm Emanuel, and I would have been like, yes, of course.
Yeah. It was so much. They also didn't know how to end. Like there was no clear end to the village people. It was just like they just kind of kept going.
I just
I
love
have
that
to
we have a
say-
village people critique. I just don't know what's happening.
Honestly,
It's amazing.
we stand gay icons and like we love that. The costumes did not age well at all.
Get that paycheck, boys. Like get the paycheck.
Like
whatever.
there was a cop and someone co-opting indigenous culture. What is happening right
Are
now?
they
Like,
still
it's
the real
so-
village people?
No,
Only
it's a
one.
whole
No.
thing.
I think
Okay,
there's
they-
just one. I
You
think the
can
rest
swap
There's a whole
out.
passed
podcast
away.
about that.
Can I just say, I recorded it, and if you listen to the beginning, there's a random person that you can hear in the whole stage just saying, Nicole. Nicole. That's like second.
Producer needed.
That's like second
the producer
degree.
needed
Was
to
there
be,
a director?
Nicole.
Like, do you think
producer
someone was
needed
in
to be
charge?
fired.
Maybe Nicole
Yeah.
didn't show up.
Somebody find Nicole.
It was
Nicole,
Oh my
like
God.
honestly, I do have to say one thing. I'm watching with my husband. The first scene when Heidi Klum and the only legitimacy I'll give her is that she talked about Beckenbauer, Bren, and that was nice because one thing we did not see, which we historically see in the draw, is nods to actual historical footballers who have accomplished so much and given to the game. And the only thing was Pelé, who Trump talked about, but there were so many. It was replaced with American sport legends, which was gross. But the lighting director for this show, you could not see Kevin Hart's face because he was wearing a black sweatshirt against a really dark backdrop. Like there,
And he's also
that was not.
Kevin Blackham.
This is the lead to a New York Times article about the FIFA draw. Today I feel cowboy. Today I feel construction worker. Today I feel leather-bound biker.
That's good. Who
Which,
wrote
of course,
that? That's good.
Is a shout out to Infantino's 4 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Qatar. Today I feel gay. Today I feel woman. Like bizarro. And so it's just so. Shout out to James McNicholas for that.
So yeah, part of my favorite part of this was the group chat that we had while it was happening. Anyways, so fabulous. Now to move on something far less fabulous.
Yeah.
There's no great segue for this. A little bit about one of the heated things, and we talk about this a little bit in our live show. We had 2 live shows over the past year, which was pretty iconic. One at Bowling Green State, and then one in Gatineau at the what was it? Something about history.
North American
Um,
Society for the Study of Sports History.
Yes, thank you.
That Nash, yes, thank you, Dr. Davis. So we see amongst all of this one of the reasons we're so connected on this is the absolute violation of any possible rights, the changing based on special orders issued from Trump's office, seeing the harm that's going to be caused, and we know it will be caused, not only happening now, the illegal deportations, despite orders of stay that are issued by judges, ICE is just picking up people without any, and we see, in a way, it's heartening to have different communities on watch and stuff like this, but it's almost like there's this huge force field that needs to be fought against. And I want to sort of tap into that a little bit. And the pushback, is there any pushback? Brenda, do we see any pushback against this from other, like either co-host countries or anyone in the football community against this particular issue that is not being addressed? There's this showy, billowy, sparkly show, but no one's really talking about this.
I think MLS fans are, NWSL fans, USL fans, supporters groups are talking and preparing resources for what to do with ICE raids, how to respond to ICE, what are know your rights. I think those have been very heartening to see. Some of the TIFOs, now that's gotten them into some wrangling with MLS over what they can bring in and what they cannot bring in. So that's a really serious issue. And you mentioned Evan Whitfield before. And Jeremy Duru, who's a lawyer, who's also been working with ACLU from the Human Rights Soccer Alliance to try to build some of these kits for coaches that are, being confronted with ICE officers in their soccer clubs on the fields and how they can respond. They also have a network of lawyers, and there's a lot of resources on their website, also Dignity 26 and some of the other groups that are around. So I feel like there have been movements of solidarity, but it's a terrifying time and really no one's safe.
Yeah, and I wanted to sort of mention too that not that I would ever look to FIFA to be any kind of bastion of anything, but a Canadian vice president of FIFA, Victor Montagliani, actually refuted Trump. And there was a bit of pushback there when Trump was threatening to say, well, this is a dangerous city. I'm going to take the host city away from like the Bay Area or this or that, like threatening arbitrarily to pull away when we know there's profit to be made from that particular host city and there's economic dependency on it in a way. So he pushed back and said, this isn't Trump's tournament. This is FIFA's, which impressed me. Like, I have things to say about Montagliani, absolutely, no doubt. But former head of CONCACAF. But that being said, in this, it was really important for someone from that office, because we know it wasn't going to be Infantino who said anything disparaging or in an opposition to Trump. So, and in addition to that, there's some new things. Like a couple weeks ago, we had heard that, not even weeks ago, Iran's team wouldn't be attending the draw, because what this draw does is all the qualifying teams, the presidents of their federations go and their head coaches usually go, plus maybe one or two staff. So if you didn't see a lot of current active footballers, is because this is not usually where they come. This is where the federations come, and Iran would not get. It was Iran's the president of the federation, Iranian Football Federation, didn't get a visa, and it wasn't until they announced they would be boycotting this event if they didn't that it was issued a couple of days ago, and Iran did show up. Haiti was not there; they're represented by Wyclef Jean. But I think for me, this whole idea of using football unites the world, and then you're not admitting huge factions of people. Part of the World Cup's joy is to allow each federation gets a certain amount of tickets to give supporters of that nation. And when you don't allow those nations to come, it is antithetical to the entire concept. You cannot use for your commodification the very thing that espouses the spirit of football for your own good, and that's what's happening. Amira?
Yeah, and I just want to talk about one country's ban, particularly, and that is Haiti, that really gets under my skin for two reasons. One, Haiti has qualified for the World Cup for the first time since 1974, right? There is so much joy and excitement around this team, around this qualification, about what this means for the country. And also the continued ban of Haitian fans and supporters and Haitians in general by this administration is a long continuation of U.S. policy towards Haiti that has been rooted in racism and destabilization, occupation since the 1800s, right? Like Haiti has been perpetually punished for being a nation that overthrew slavery and became independent, had to pay $21 billion in reparations for France. And I know that people think, oh, history is, that what does that have to do with this ban and the World Cup and everything? But you're talking about a country that has been under siege, right, since they rose up and seized their independence. You're talking about a United States that has occupied, destabilized a country, that has used it for their own economic, political, and militaristic aims, and then has punished perpetually Haitian Americans, immigrants from Haiti in particular, that is only intensifying. And then when you compound that with the joy that people are trying to wrest from something like football, something like a global game, where they are, Derek Etienne, who one of the stars of this team, talked about how proud he was. His sister qualified for the World Cup on the women's side, and he talked about how his dad gets to see both his kids playing in the World Cup. It's beautiful, right? Etienne says, I think for us to be able to take the pain of our country, put it on our backs, and use our heart to help the nation is something all the players take pride in. So the fact that we're able to bring that back to the World Cup is something that everyone's family is taking great pride in. It's huge, especially with the things going on in the country. It's a break from that and a little dream. It's not only a dream for us, but for the entire country. And the thing about it is he talked about how exciting it was because Haitians travel so well. They're going to be, you see them for Naomi Osaka in the far stands of any, Grand Slam tournament. They travel well with their flags, with their cheers. And he had to amend, his quote of saying, I know that Haitian Americans will show up, right? I know that folks already there will show up, because the truth of the matter is with this ban, you're restricting people from taking part in a joy that they so deserve. And I don't know what it is about Haiti particularly, but it's like really under my skin. The fucking nerve.
And Haiti is in such a position that team qualified not playing in Haiti. So, that was a really hard road for them. And it's incredible, so just think about that. Like, they had no home field advantage there. Home so destroyed by natural disaster, gang violence, and as you said, 200 years of antagonism from the world, because they were a slave revolt. They were established as a slave revolt, and it's, global racism. It's insane. So, yeah, I think about their qualifying road, too.
And I think, Brenda, you mentioned, though, everybody should go look at the joy
Yes.
that the game, the diaspora is absolutely watching this.
Yeah.
And then even back on the island,
Yeah.
what are the scenes that you've seen?
I keep getting WhatsApps from people just involved, like people that have worked from grassroots about the women's case in Haiti that I've been connected to. And so they'll be like, take a look at this area of Port-au-Prince, which is usually like totally dead and scary this time of night. And you could just see people playing instruments and kind of marching along through the streets. And it's very wholesome.
Yes.
Yeah, so obviously the case of Haiti and other countries that the U.S. is targeting, and whether or not their fans will even be able to participate, is like a particular issue. But we could also zoom out and talk about like how just going to these games in general is difficult because of what FIFA is doing. So I will just straight up say, like, I have found everything around these tickets to the World Cup confusing, and I do feel better that there's like multiple articles that exist that are like massive explainers. They're very long, trying to explain the ticket thing to people, like to the point where The Athletic actually has an individual piece for every single city that's titled something like how to get tickets to World Cup 2026 matches in Vancouver, in Miami, in New Jersey. Like, you can go. So if you're going to go to a specific venue, I suggest finding The Athletic article about how to get tickets to that one, because it's that difficult. So there's already been a couple lotteries for tickets, and I think something like 2 million have already been sold. There's going to be a final one, so PSA, from December 11th to January 13th. Good luck to everyone entering this lottery. If you aren't chosen in the lottery sometime in the spring, FIFA is going to release whatever tickets are left, but they are not telling people how many, which games, which venues. So again, good luck. Shireen mentioned that you can get tickets through your national federation. That's one way. There's hospitality packages, resale, but I can't even imagine resale, because On top of all of this, FIFA, for the first time ever, has decided to do dynamic pricing, which basically means the more popular the event, the more the tickets cost. And so to go to the World Cup final, it would cost you literally thousands of dollars. The Athletic reports that the upper deck, so like the cheapest ones at this point in November when they reported this, it was $3,500 a piece. It's nearly $1,000 for the cheapest ticket to go to a semifinal at this point. If you want to go to the U.S. home opener at this, like it's nearly $600. And that was in November when they were reporting it. So with the dynamic pricing, who knows? So on top of that, let's say you shell out all that money for your ticket, for your accommodations. If you are going to drive to park at one of these things, you need to be saving your silver dollars. If you want to go to a group stage match in Kansas City, it's $75 to park your car. If you get that $1,000 ticket to the semifinal in Dallas, you're going to pay $175 to park your car.
US, which is like
US.
300 Canadian dollars.
So we might all be in it for the love of the game, but like FIFA, very clearly on the surface, in for the money, all of your money.
I feel very poor right now.
I know. I was like, I'm not going to the World Cup is what I felt when I was reading about this.
We're sitting on the sofa yesterday and Jihad goes, I really want to go to a match. I'm like, oh yeah? You got FIFA ticket money, girl?
Yeah,
Like,
you
my
have
daughter-
FIFA ticket money is a real thing. Yeah, do you have it?
Like,
yeah.
No,
Oof.
you don't.
It's really ridiculous. I was happy to see that Zoran Mamdani launched a petition right after his victory in November called Game Over Greed, which is calling out the dynamic pricing. And it's also calling for FIFA to place a cap on resale prices, and then also asking that 15% of tickets set aside for local residents at a discount. New York, of course, is hosting, we'll have a few games in New York. So part of the petition is saying, look, a vast majority of working class New Yorkers won't be able to see it. So he's tying it in with his highly successful campaign that brought democratic socialism to the forefront and talked a lot about financial disparity that's happening in New York. But I think many people resonated it with all over because it's literally where we're at right now. And so that petition is still live. You still can sign it. And it was just really great to see ways that we can still say, oh, we can like push back at least some way in saying like, this is ridiculous in terms of dynamic pricing. I know if you've ever tried to get like a Beyonce ticket, you're like well familiar with this fucking dynamic pricing conundrum. But beyond that, the idea that local resident tickets haven't been set aside, which has always been like the supposed trade-off, right? Like we're coming in and prices are going to be raised across the city on regular facilities, like trying to catch a taxi if you're getting a ride share. A lot of people put up charges in like eatery places during this time. All of this stuff is going to happen. And one of the things that happens is you're supposed to have some things for local people who are minding their fucking business and going to have their lives impeded on this mega event that's rolling into town, that's doing what mega events do, which also, by the way, say like as much as this is new terribleness, the old terribleness of mega event is still happening. So homeless encampments are still being cleaned out. People are being displaced. You're still going to have a rise in sex trafficking. You're going to have a rise in domestic violence patterns across the city. Like these are what
Militarized police
militarized
at a
police
time when that's
who
particularly
don't give
terrifying.
any of that back. Right? Like, so we already have like police forces that have way too much militarized equipment, and you have whatever the fuck ICE is. And when you put those things together and use the pretense of mega events to pour even more resources and equipment into these communities, they don't have to give those back after they leave. And so all of these things are happening. So I don't know, for me at least, it was good to see somebody say, hey, put the game over greed. And I think Mamdani quoted the Pope saying, football is the most important of unimportant things. But I think it's also just like a way to talk through disparities and pain, financial pain that people are seeing across the board for everything.
Just to jump off of what Amira said about local establishments, there was an article in the Globe and Mail, and it was talking about how local establishments, who close to BMO in Toronto, the field that's under construction to host the matches here, within a certain kilometer range of it, you are not allowed to use logos for FIFA or even the words World Cup, which have been trademarked. So a small pub that is hosting a watch party, oh my goodness. They can't even say we're hosting a World Cup watch party. They can only say football is being shown here. because they could, and there will be, this article said, and it's wild, that there will be officers. I don't know what kind of officers monitoring. So FIFA got the money to go police local establishments. They cannot use and they can't use any imagery. That's patented by FIFA.
That's what the dynamic pricing is going to. Paying the officers to stop people from using the words World Cup. Okay.
Like a small pub that hosts, and one of the things, like Brenda was talking about, Toronto is such a vibrant city, and thank God almighty we don't have ice in Canada. Not to say there's not absolute, like, violence, racial violence here, but it's a city that's so vibrant that small communities, and there's replications of this historically through the United States, communities during the World Cup come alive. Colombian, Ecuadorian, like South American, African countries, Middle Eastern countries come alive. They're not going to do that because ICE will show up. So this is all in a way that it's so awful that this is happening, one from the like political side, the legal side, policy side within, but then coming on top from FIFA that is supposed to be guarding the game. It's horrific.
Well, and they'll do it with volunteer labor. So
Right.
take a look at all of the calls. And every college student, at Syracuse, at UNAM, across from these three countries that are desperate to get involved in this industry and love football, sign up to be those people that are going to tattle on the local pub that has that imagery, because that's what they do. So they don't need money to
Right.
pay them, because what they traffic in is your love of the sport.
Absolutely.
And that's their thing. And I think what both of you are pointing to are legacy issues. The fact that once these things are established practices, police force resources going to these places, price gouging, moving, itinerant housing, all of this doesn't go away. So the legacy piece has to be talked about right away, and we'll probably have like follow-up issues, like episodes on that. But just quickly to mention, for sure, look for the Women's World Cup 2027 not to be advertised at all. So look for that to be like totally absent, as it's already been. During this would be an opportunity. Same game, same governance. What will it do for the women's game? Unclear to me. Every city has to have a human rights plan. No city has produced an accountability report of how they've done that. We're 6 months out. There's been absolutely no real response to that. Totally ignoring those strategic plans. Communities of color, how are you going? I mean, it's just a total silence on how they're going to support those communities in the face of ICE. But even besides that, just going forward, how is this supposed to benefit grassroots clubs that serve those communities every day? And thus far, it's been total silence. Then on top of it, I think you've been investigating this a little more, Jess.
Oh, they're going to pollute a lot. So
Yeah.
because there's 48 teams, because there's so many games, because they're spread out among 3 countries that are big, in order for teams and fans and everyone to move in between these, the amount of carbon dioxide that they're going to be releasing into the air is like wild. The Scientists for Global Responsibility released a report in July, and they estimate that this World Cup will generate more than 9 million tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. For comparison, the Qatar World Cup was 5.2 million tons. So like just the increase in like the physical environment is going to be really rough. And this comes on the heels in 2024 of FIFA announcing that that Aramco, the Saudi oil company, was going to be one of the major sponsors of both this World Cup and the 2027 Women's World Cup, which led to more than 100 professional women signing a letter asking FIFA to back down, which of course they will not. They have no shame. They will be doing this. But yeah, it's not, there's so much that's going to be bad about this particular mega event.
I'm trying to do something where it's like, also, we talked about like where we find morsels of joy or silver lining. And it's hard because I don't really feel like a lot. But this is what I came up with. You know, those mockbusters, like the fake movies that come out with a real movie, like on a streaming service to like make you think. So like when Princess of the Frog came out, some small studio came out with the Frog Princess, and it like looks the same, but it's
Okay.
not. I know that there's so many creative people. So I'm really interested in how these local bars and pubs come up with like not World Cup mock posters. Like, because I was sitting here thinking about like, how would you advertise it? And the best I came up with was like swapping the words. So it'd be like Club World. Like, that was dumb. But then I thought people are really creative, and I'm sure that we'll find some entertainment in the way that people circumvent the awfulness.
The curled whup.
There you go. I literally could not get my mind to figure out how you said world with a C.
World way up K.
The global plate.
Love that.
Would you know it? Would you know if I was watching a World Cup party if I called it the global plate? The global bowl.
Okay, I like that better. Bowl's better.
Global bowl.
We should have a contest and ask our listeners to come up with the best non-World Cup name, and then we can name our episode that.
I like
We
it.
should do that.
Maybe we're doing that now.
Everybody, listeners, flamethrowers out there, if you have a witty name that you can come up with,
That won't get
And-
you sued.
it won't get you sued. That would be fantastic. We're so smart. I love our ideas. Now, this entire episode has largely been something that could be considered an entire burn pile. Like, this could literally be one whole dumpster fire, because the world seems like a big fucking dumpster fire amidst all of this. And Amira, I really love the way you say, if it wasn't real life, it would be really funny. There's still ongoing genocide in Gaza. There's still Congo. There's still Sudan, a humanitarian crisis we literally are not hearing of, who had teams actively participating to try to get to the World Cup as well. So they're not disconnected from this story either. We actually have a legitimate burn pile, and we're happy to have it back. Brenda, can you start us off?
Sure. My burn pile actually has to do with Canada, who commissioned a report on public health from this company called Deloitte, which you've probably heard of, right? They do businessy, consulting-y types of things, yeah? And this government commission report on healthcare and public health cost about just under $2 million. And it was released under the CEO of that company, Dan Helfrich. And Dan Helfrich's report contained evidently a gross number of AI-generated errors, which led the Canadian government to all kinds of sort of steps. I'm getting to soccer. All kinds of steps that would eliminate different kinds of programs that in hallucinated AI determined were not useful to the Canadian people. And under Helfrich, this report was released. They admitted that AI had been substantially employed in this report, but denied that it would change any findings, though scientists going through it and other academics felt that that wasn't true. So Helfrich leaves, he gets, this is pretty embarrassing. It's a government contract. It's not a big contract for Deloitte because they're very big. So $2 million is, just AI change. And so Helfrich leaves and immediately becomes the chief operating officer for U.S. Soccer. So that's what he is right now. And he just took that job. He just started that job this past month in November. And so this is who's actually right now going to be in charge of all those legacy issues that we're facing, that we've just talked about. And I really want to burn hiring someone who's done criminal work for governments to try to provide for vulnerable populations to benefit from this tournament. I feel like it's super shady hire. So I want to burn it. Burn.
Linz?
Yeah, I want to burn the leaders of women's sports right now. I'm just so frustrated with everyone. No, look, WNBA is in the middle of a big labor fight, as I'm sure all of our listeners know. The CBA deadline has been extended twice, most recently until January 9th. There's a lot to still figure out. What we found out this week is that the WNBA is offering latest offer has salaries that a max salary could be $1 million with included revenue sharing. It could be up to $1.2 million, a salary cap, which is up from $1.5 million this year to $5 million. So look, we're seeing more money, which is great. But when you look beyond these splashy headlines, what you're seeing is still just a nature of disrespect and trying to humble these women and keep them in their place. And I'm fucking sick of it, to just put it mildly. They're, with this proposal, taking away housing, which, yes, if you're getting $1 million, you can afford your own housing. I get that. But what housing subsidies do for these WNBA players is they're not always in market for 12 years. They're looking for 6-month leases at times. A lot of players who are on the margins are looking for housing for weeks, even months at a time, if they're on and off rosters. Trying to find housing takes a lot of time. Trying to prove your income enough to get rentals that are in secure enough places in these big cities, that is a huge undertaking. And especially when you could be traded at any moment, you have a job that is volatile. I'm not saying that the housing market is great for everyone, but I'm saying for these elite athletes, you need to take that off their plate at the minimum. And it just seems to me that taking housing subsidies away is just such a ticky-tack thing. We're talking like a couple $1 million altogether for these billionaire owners. And it's just, to me, it just shows that they're still looking for these WNBA players to just be grateful for what they're being offered. And if you look at the proposals altogether, it's still only resulting in about 10 to 15% of revenue, of all league revenue. It's embarrassing, and I'd like to put it on the burn pile. And look, NWSL owners who can't figure out how to pay Trinity Rodman market value, add you to burn.
Burn. Mira?
Yeah, so last month, Sky Sports launched a new TikTok channel called Halo, which was supposed to be with the tagline, we're about all sports and championing female athletes. We're here for the culture, community, and connection. We don't just watch sports, we live it. But pretty quickly off the bat, it was off to a very rocky start. It literally launched with the description of it being the quote-unquote Lil Sis of Sky Sports. And if you went over to the TikTok channel, what you would find was posts with pink hearts, posts with glittery pink and purple writing on the videos. For instance, there was a video of Man City scoring a goal, and Holland was like dribbling through players. And the caption they put on the video is, "How the matcha and hot girl walk combos hit."
No.
And there was hearts. There was hearts flying around too, just in case you didn't get the feeling. Also, half of their first posts didn't feature women athletes at all. The blowback was very quick. The comments were actually really funny. People were like, "Oh no, how will my mind ever process sports if it's not written in pink?" But also, I was really frustrated by their response to the initial people being like, "What is this? Why are you calling it Lil Sis of Sky Sports? What made you think that women could not understand the regular coverage from Sky Sports? Like, what is happening here?" And somebody responded like, "I can't believe you thought women wanted this." And the official account responded back and said, "I can't believe you would bring that energy." So it was like throwback sexism, like 1990s era sexism. Like, I was like almost in disbelief that it was real. I was pretty sure that it was parody for like 24 hours because it looked like the aesthetic lookbook must have come off of those like J5 magazines that were like sold when I was growing up in the 90s that would just have like NSYNC's faces on the covers and posters inside. That must have been their aesthetic because everything was so like oppressively pink. Nothing's wrong with the color pink, but it was like pink hearts and like it was a mess. Luckily, after 3 days, they realized that this was probably not a good project and they completely shut it down. But The fact that it even passed so many levels of approval to do the official launch and stayed up for that long with them defending it for that long pissed me off. And I literally said to Jessica when it first launched, oh my gosh, I wish we had burned it all down because I would burn this so fast. And now I can, so burn.
Burn. I'm gonna go next, and initially I had said that I wanted to burn the suspension of Cristiano Ronaldo's red card. He was issued a red card against the Republic of Ireland, and FIFA decided to suspend his suspension so he can participate in the World Cup. Now, the thing that I'm actually
I did not know that.
yeah,
Oh my gosh.
that's what and because and for a while I'm at a point, y'all, and I'm getting into my like digital geriatric phase. I don't know what the fuck is AI anymore. So I'll show cat videos as really cute and I fall for them and Salu's like, Mama, this is AI clearly. And I'm like, no, the dog chose its owner. I know it did. This video is real. But I wasn't sure if Ronaldo had visited Trump in the White House and I'm a journalist. I was trying to get it corroborated, right? So at the same time, Ronaldo, who we know is not a bastion of anything political, horrible. We've talked about this many times on the show. But in essence, what I'm completely burning is this idea of political neutrality, which FIFA seeks to hold and still thinks is an actual thing. And in what we've seen from the draw and leading up to, this is anything but neutral. This is worshiping at the altar of capitalism, of power, of control, of oppression. And, you know, the example of Ronaldo being able to play when he really shouldn't. If it was any other player in the world, that red card would be adhered to, some exceptions. Obviously, if it was a player from Haiti, if it was a player from Curacao that Wayne Gretzky likes to call Caraco, or because I talked
Did
about
that happen?
Yes, listen
See,
to
I
the
just have to
show I did
believe
with Brenda.
you.
Fucking Wayne Gretzky, like, oh my God, it's not embarrassing enough to be Canadian at the moment, and like he's coming out here. Don't even ask me what he called Macedonia.
I have the recording,
Jess,
Jess. I'll send it to you.
It's so bad.
Sounds like a good nut, you know?
Yeah, Macedonian nuts. That's what the joke is on Twitter. The best is Jordan. The man can't say Jordan. He said Jordan.
Okay.
That's Bill Belichick's girlfriend's name. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, no, that's a different episode.
But he can say Bosnia Herzegovina.
It's a teaser.
Like, what the fuck? I don't know. Anyway, I'm sorry. I just had to say that again. The point is, we know political neutrality does not exist. If I see those terms together, I lose it. It is absolutely a falsehood, and I want to burn political neutrality. Burn. Dr. Jessica Luther.
Thank you. So I had a hard time deciding what exactly to burn because there's simply too much. I think we probably all have this trouble. So I decided to go with the thing that actually made me cry when I heard the news. In November, LSU hired Verge Osbury to be their new athletic director. He's a longtime athletic staffer at LSU, and I knew his name immediately. In the fall of 2020, I worked on a team at USA Today with Nancy Armour and Kenny Jacoby. We broke a major story about the many ways that LSU was failing victims of gendered violence, including in athletics. That was the first time that I learned about Osbury. According to a police report that I have read so many times, in April of 2018, a star football player texted Osbury that he had punched his girlfriend, another LSU athlete, in the stomach, and he was concerned that she was going to report him. In response, Osbury called the player and talked to him for 6 minutes, and then he did nothing. 2 weeks later, the woman went to an athletic trainer because her ribs were so swollen she couldn't sleep. After an outside law firm did a detailed report about all of this following our reporting, LSU suspended Osbury for 1 month unpaid. A man whom LSU punished for failing to help a female athlete despite knowing she was the victim of domestic violence at the hand of another athlete is now the athletic director at LSU overseeing all athletes. I assume that the women athletes of LSU were never considered when the president of the school promoted Osbury to athletic director. In fact, my gut tells me that Osbury was hired precisely because he will put the good of the football team over everything else, including the safety and health of other athletes at LSU. This is, of course, a chronic problem in college football. This is why Art Briles, who has yet to truly make amends for everything that happened around gendered violence in the Baylor football team under his watch, has a new gig as a Division II head football coach. This is why DJ Durkin, who was head coach at Maryland when Jordan McNair died a preventable death from heat stroke following a practice, is still a defensive coordinator at Auburn. So today, I want to burn the toxic nature of college football and the men it continues to protect. Burn.
Burn.
Dr. Luther, if I'm not mistaken, you won an award with that team at USA Today for that reporting.
We did, yes, from the AP.
Thank you for continuing to be committed to that kind of work, because it's not easy. Now to flip to happiness. Let's get into happiness.
Does
we
that
wanna lift
work?
up some torchbearers. I don't know.
Every time I'm sad now, I'm gonna just think of you being now to flip to happiness.
Flip.
I mean, we might
I
as
can
well. Like, there's no such thing as smooth transitions in this world anymore, right?
No.
Like, it all just exists
At
together.
the same time.
And if you want to have joy, you have to just go to it straight from the terror. Like, you can't.
I actively seek joy. So this is
Yeah,
what
you
I'm
have
doing.
to.
I'm seeking joy as a
But-
form of resistance.
Yeah, you can't just
Um,
be like but there's no like good appropriate time for joy, right? Because there's always bad. So we'll just that's what we hear, right? Blunt transitions between it all.
Bren.
Monique Andre, current interim head of Haiti's Football Federation, which has led to this qualification. And for me, is a torchbearer in part because she has pulled this federation out of the abusive history of Jean-Yves Bart.
Incredible.
Amazing.
I'll go next, just because I forgot to say who was going next, so I'll go next.
Please do.
Blunt
Yeah.
It's fine,
transitions.
it's fine. Blunt transition. I did want to, in all this terrible dumpster fire world that we talk of, so much to burn, there's these moments and these actual points of light, whether it's mobilizations from independent soccer supporters groups, it's Sports and Rights Alliance, whether it's human rights groups, what ACLU, I was on a media call earlier this week, where there's so many different groups that come together to work. They don't always get it right. We know this. We can be critical continuously, which we will do. However, there's points at which that mobilization is heartening me. Maybe my bar is very low, but the reality is when communities come together, and maybe I'm just happy because Oran Mamdani won in New York. So maybe I'm just still on that bandwagon. Like, look, there's points of joy and principle and integrity and goodness that can persevere and that can thrive in situations. It's not all going to be good. It's not going to be 100% good or 100%. Well, it can be 1,000% bad, yes. But I would like to shout out those people who are continuously on the ground, the grassroots groups, the parents who take their kids to the park, the women who play in community sport, the trans women who continue to go out, to show up, to play, even though there's wars waged against them. And really want to say that those communities of people that are keeping the inherent spirit of football, the beautiful game, which is ours, alive. I want to shout those people out. Sometimes you don't get a platform. We see you. I see you. And I thank you. And I want to lift you up.
I love that.
Linz?
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about a female athlete that's making me happy, and that's Audi Crooks, the Iowa State center, 6'3" junior. If you have not watched Audi Crooks play, you need to change that immediately. It is a joy. It is pure ferociousness on the court, pure joy off the court. And she is so, so good. She's averaging 27.3 points, 5.9 rebounds, and 2.1 assists so far this season, shooting 73.8% from the field. 73.8% from the field is absurd. Earlier in November, at the beginning of November, or actually on November 12th, she scored an Iowa State record 43 points in just 20 minutes in a game that she had the flu. And then she actually broke that record on November 30th when she scored 47 points, this time in 33 minutes.
Dr. Davis?
Absolutely. I want to lift up Selimar Rivera Cosme and Julian Ortiz, who are going to be doing the sign interpretation at the Super Bowl. So Selimar is
Oh.
Puerto Rican, and she most recently did Bad Bunny's residency in Puerto Rico. And he asked her to do his halftime show, as well as Ortiz, who will be doing the national anthem, and Fred Beam will be doing Lift Every Voice and Sing, and then Julian will do the national anthem and American the Beautiful, but he will be doing it in LSPR, which is Puerto Rican Sign Language. And so I'm just really thrilled that A, look at all the boys on the stage, but B, I just really like that Puerto Rican Sign Language in particular will be getting its own moment, much like BASL, Black American Sign Language, reminders that ASL is not the only sign language, that's American Sign Language, and much like American dialects, marginalized communities have their own forms of language keeping. And especially on the island since around the 1990s, Puerto Rican Sign Language has been continuing to rise as something that's preserved and taught. And so to have this stage with those interpreters at the show feels really good. So watch for them on Super Bowl Sunday if you're watching the show.
Amazing. Dr. Luther.
Yeah, so in similar vein to Lindsay, I wanted to shout out athletes that have just been giving me so much joy in the fall, and I'm going to go with college volleyball. So while I'm still ride or die for the University of Texas, we got to give some love to the overall #1 seed in the NCAA volleyball tournament, the University of Nebraska. They went undefeated in the regular season, winning all 30 of their matches. Across those 30 matches, they only lost 7 sets and only 1 in Big Ten play. I mean, it'll be really fun to see if someone can actually beat them in the postseason. Obviously, I'm going to hope it's the Hook'em Longhorns, but shout out to Nebraska for what has just been an absolute incredible dominant season.
And can we particularly shout out? I don't know if I can fully shout out Nebraska because I just don't think I'm built like that in terms of competition. But I do want to particularly shout out Harper Murray, who, if you know anything about her story, has had a journey. She was pegged as the bad girl of volleyball. She's one of the only women of color on that team, and she also was politically outspoken, which is not ever easy to do, but particularly not in Nebraska. Had a lot of their own fans turn against her over the last few years. And for her to be a leader of this team that's doing so well and write this chapter of her story has been great to see. And also, I want to beat them.
I love that. I just want to thank you all for being here and listening with us. I was talking to the flamethrowers, but also thanking everybody here because I love them, and being with them brings me a lot of joy. So in addition to all the cool people we've named, I also want to thank out my co-hosts and Martin Kessler, our producer, because this has been, I dream about this. I really do. And I've missed it terribly. And we really, really want to come back. No, I'm okay. I'm internally biting my cheek. We really want to come back, and you all can help. Our community has missed us, and we've missed our community. We will be launching a Kickstarter and a Patreon, as mentioned, but in the meantime, you can sign up for a newsletter via the link in the show notes. Fill out the survey, as mentioned, also linked in the show notes, and then subscribe, subscribe, and share Burn It All Down's YouTube channel. Links will be in the show notes, and share with your friends, share with people who may not know us. You can remind people who were part. I put some stuff and been sharing some pictures on Instagram. And, we have had community members reach out to us at different points in the last couple of years of our hiatus and say, man, I miss you. Courtney of Diaspora United Pod reached out at one point on Blue Sky and was like, I really miss your voices. So we hear you, we've heard you, and you can help us come back. Just want to say on behalf of Doctors Luther, Elsie, Davis, the esteemed Lindsay Gibbs, and myself, Shireen Ahmed, thank you for being with us. And we'll see you again soon. Burn on and not out.